course, eventually you make your way further north and find these lands about which you are very confused. Yes, China, Cathay, meant something, but you're very confused about all these territories. Now, it's in the same period, the 1490s, well, 1490s, of course, see someone with the idea, why can't we go to India this way? Why do we have to go all the way around the African coast? Surely we can sail direct. Europe doesn't know, of course, about this big landmass standing in the middle.
Question.
Yes.
My name is Lawrence.
Yes.
I just wanted to know if this European civilization that is evident in the 16th century has something to do with the Muslim interaction at the time or before, because I know that in the 7th century, during the Caliphate period, for example, Abbasid period, Abbasid period, the Caliphate period,
yes.
Islamic...
yes, the Abbasid period.
Yes, there were those development like, art and
yes.
philosophy.
Yes.
Could this 16th century European civilization have something to do with that?
Yes. The catalyst here is Eastern Christianity. It's the Abbasid revival depends very heavily on its contact with Iraqi, what we would now call Iraqi Christians. Syriac sources. This produces, it's this Christian contact, I think, which produces this Islamic revival. That Islamic revival, which of course has got a lot of Greek sources in it, that again come from a multi. We haven't had the time to look at Eastern Christianity, and again a multicultural Christianity, in which Greek and Syriac elements stand side by side. It's this Christian inheritance that comes back to Western Europe in, well, I think from the 13th century onwards you're getting it, but it's coming through Muslim sources. It's coming in Spain, which is the one area where Christians and Muslims really have any possibility of conversation. So yes, I think there is a real link there. These things are getting very polemical now. I know in a lot of Muslim Christian discussion of the sort that I hear in Nigeria, where much is made of the Islamic contribution to Europe, which is true, but that contribution itself came from Eastern Christian sources, from Arab Christian sources. After all, the Arabs of the peninsula moved into an area. Let's remember, Iraq was one of the great Christian powerhouses, one of the great Christian centers. And the Arabs learned these things from Arab Christians. But let's continue the story. One way of doing it might be to, if you've got the second part of the reader there, have you the bit called Last Crusade? This is a letter, and it's written in the year 1492, in a few years before my 1500 break. And, well, you'll see who it's written by. In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, the most Christian, the most high, the most excellent, most powerful princes, king and queen of the Spains. That's the address. The address on the letter. In this present year, 1492, after your highnesses had brought to an end the war against the Moors who reigned in Europe, the Moors is the name for the Muslims. And King and Queen of Spain had brought the war against the Muslims to an end. The Muslims who reigned in Europe. The one place in Europe where they reigned was Spain. So you can see what's happened here. And after your highnesses terminated this war in the very great city of Granada, where in this present year, on the 2nd of the month of January, I saw by force of arms the royal banners of your highnesses planted on the towers of the Alhambra, the citadel of the said city, and where I saw the Moorish king come out of his gates and kiss the royal, excuse me, the royal hands of your highnesses. The surrender of the Muslims in Spain. And immediately afterwards, in the same month, in consequence of the information which I given your highnesses on the subject of India, and of the prince who's called the Great Khan, which in our Roman means King of Kings, namely that many times he and his predecessors had sent ambassadors to Rome to seek doctors of our holy faith, to the end that they should teach in India, and that never has the Holy Father been able to do so, and accordingly so many peoples were being lost through falling into idolatry and receiving sects of perdition among them. Your highnesses, as good Christian and Catholic princes, devout propagators of the Christian faith, as well as enemies of the sect of Muhammad and of all idolatries and heresies, conceived the plan of sending me, Christopher Columbus, to this country of India, there to see the princes, the peoples, the territory, their disposition and all things else, and the way in which one might proceed to convert these regions to our holy faith. And your highnesses have ordered that I should go, not by land towards the east, which is the accustomed route, but by way of the west, which hitherto nobody to our knowledge has ever been. And so, after having expelled all the Jews from your kingdom and lordships, in the same month of January, your highnesses ordered me to set out with a sufficient fleet for the said country of India. And to this end your highnesses have shown me great favour. The first letter from America. Columbus writing to his patrons, the monarchs of Spain. Spain had not been a united country, it had been several different states, but the king of one of the largest, Ferdinand of Aragon, had married the queen of the other large one, Castile. And so what we're seeing is modern Spain really coming into existence at this time. The making of a new Spain is part of a new Europe. And they are sending Columbus to India. He's writing from the Bahamas. He thinks he's in India. Can we unpack that letter a bit? As you can see, all other attempts to reach India have been overland, or he doesn't mention the sea route, newly opened, but very long and very difficult. No one has any idea of this landmass, which we now call America. So Columbus thinks he has reached Asia, which was his intention. You'll notice that he's very vague in his ideas about Asia. He talks about the great Khan being the ruler of India. Well, the great Khan has nothing to do with India. The great Khan was the Mongol emperor who had ruled in China. He's got the story about the great Khan sending repeated embassies to the Pope asking for missionaries. This is a highly doctored version of a conversation which the Venetian traveller Marco Polo had with one of the few Europeans to get to China before this time, had with the Mongol emperor, and there certainly weren't repeated embassies asking for missionaries. In other words, this letter is written from the depths of ignorance about most of the world. And I think we've also got to remember that Columbus was probably one of the best informed people in Europe about Asia. He'd done his homework as far as he could for his journey. Europe's been isolated so long that it knows much less about India and China than the Greeks and Romans did, and far, far less than the Muslims did.